When it comes to Pokemon, you better watch your back on a full moon night. Greetings, dear viewer, join us on a hair-raising journey through today's bone-chilling Pokemon feature, the Werewolf's Curse. I like werewolves. I love the idea, I love the aesthetic, I love the literary significance. I've always thought it would be the perfect inspiration for a Pokemon. So in Generation 7, when we were introduced to Rockruff and its two evolutions, Lycanroc Midday and Midnight, surely I would be happy, right? Okay, I'm not gonna hate on Lycanroc Midnight. I think it's a great idea to showcase how the night and day mechanics were played around with in the Generation 7, specifically how the day and night cycles were reversed between each version. And I really like the design. It's able to exist as a bipedal Pokemon to relate to the werewolf mythology, while still looking like a naturally occurring Pokemon next to its counterparts. But beyond that, I don't have much else to say about it. They couldn't even give it a signature move to mirror Accelerock, which both of the other forms got. The recent Halloween merchandise just put it alongside the move Howl. Anyway, I'm not going to try and quote fix Lycanroc because it does what it's meant to do pretty well, and I want to let it live in the moment. I do also want to say that in the massive sea of beta Pokemon from Gold and Silver, there was in fact a werewolf Pokemon. Because these are Pokemon data mined from the beta, they only have Japanese names that roughly translate to Wolfman and Werewolf. From the sprites we can see, the design of both are basically blobs with glowing eyes wearing a wolf-like coat. Kind of reminds me of Gabumon, but these are a pretty great idea relating to werewolves, as some legends include the use of a pelt in order to transform. The ice typing also makes sense, especially with the emphasis on the coats as part of their design, being a Pokemon living in colder climates also relating to the wolf inspiration. But you know, Ice Wolf also reminds me of Lunagaron, made a Digimon and Monster Hunter reference in one video. I'm on fire. With these being fur-themed Pokemon, there's a good chance that the evolution line was reworked into Swinub and Piloswine. I do really love them, but if that's the case, one can't help but wonder, what if we got wolves instead? Honestly, they could have both coexisted. It's just that Gold and Silver had so much content that was cut before the final release. It's like an entire separate game that we never got. But like many old designs, there's a chance that these could eventually get brought back in a future Pokemon game. Or maybe I could just steal them for myself like Koromon did. Anyway, here's what I imagine Wolfman would have been like if they made it to the final release of Gold and Silver. First, I think the name Furwolf would fit the first stage a little better, at least in English. It fits the naming convention of the evolution while tying in the main aspect of the fur coat that it wears. Stat-wise, it would be relatively well-rounded with more focus on HP and physical attack. Once brought into Generation 3, it might have Oblivious as an ability, just going by what was introduced in those. And I mean, that's kind of the same thing that happened to Swinub. As of Generation 5, I think it would have been cool to have Moxie as a hidden ability. A Pokédex entry might read, "It roams the snowy tundras in search of food. Its thick fur coat helps it survive in the harshest of conditions." Just from the sprite, I honestly really love this Pokemon. It's so round and cute and also has the devious little guy energy that I love in so many Pokemon. I think the evolution can keep the name Werewolf. It would also keep the general stat distribution just being stronger in that physical attack as well as some HP and a little bit of speed. Of course, the abilities would also carry over. A Pokédex entry for this one might read, "Legends tell of its fearsome presence on moonlit nights. Its powerful claws can shatter even the toughest ice." Overall, I really like these guys and would have loved if they had been introduced in Generation 2 like they were meant to be. I can already imagine ideas for what an anime episode that introduces them would have looked like. Have it set in some snowy village the characters are passing through where they think it's a menace, but it all turns out to be some kind of misunderstanding. Something like a parent just trying to protect their babies, and of course it'd give a chance to show off the little one with some cute moments and the interactions. Though while these are some cool beta Pokemon that we finally have the privilege of getting a peek at, I think that we can go even deeper with a werewolf Pokemon, so why not create my own? I think a big part of werewolf stories deals with the concept of a human becoming inhuman. The scary part is the change itself as well as the people around it not knowing what to suspect. So I feel like that would be an important mechanic to include. I remember back when Wooloo was first revealed, a lot of fan art gave it a wolf-like evolution to play on the phrase, "a wolf in sheep's clothing." And while we didn't get that evolution, I think the idea is pretty solid. So let's start with a sheep Pokemon. I want it to be kind of magical, so I'll make it the fairy type. It appears innocent at first. Maybe it would be a purplish color that fits the cozy looking aesthetic but could easily be maintained after the transformation to look almost evil or corrupted. Now I don't really want this to be an evolution, but instead a form change like we see in other Pokemon, specifically Darmanitan or even Meloetta. I really like the aspect of these two forms, each specializing in different kinds of attacks, one being physical and the other being special. Being able to change during battle would give them the surprise and uneasiness that would come with suspecting someone is actually a werewolf. So this fluffy Pokemon would be a special based fairy type, while the transformation would be a speedier physical attacker. It could even gain the dark typing because I think fairy and dark are a great combination, even though we've already seen it before, but hey, it's my Fakemon. As far as what would trigger the change, I kind of want to keep the form baked into the Pokemon, similar to Meloetta, rather than being tied to an ability like Darmanitan. Giving it a signature move to do this would also be pretty cool. Let's call it Lunar Lunge. The only problem is with Meloetta, the move that caused the change from one form to another was a special attack. So if you were getting one ready to use specifically in the Pirouette form, you'd have your EV investment in physical. So it would basically be wasting a turn to transform. Instead, let's have Lunar Lunge be a physical attack that triggers the transformation before damage check. I know that's kind of a roundabout way of doing things, but I feel like it's necessary to make it work, plus who's gonna stop me, the Fakemon police? So because these are one Pokemon, it took me a while to come up with a singular name that fits both forms. I settled on Lunawoo. It has the word Luna, which relates to it being a moon-inspired Pokemon in both forms, and the woo comes from the word wool. But if you look really closely at the name, you'll see the word awoo, which sounds like a wolf howl. With its gentle nature and fluffy coat, Lunawoo charms all who encounter it. Its fleece is said to harbor a magical aura that enhances the beauty of moonlit nights. As night falls and the moon rises, certain Lunawoo undergo a startling transformation. It becomes an embodiment of darkness, prowling the shadows with a menacing aura. Legends speak of its eerie howls echoing under the moon's watchful gaze. Overall, I'm pretty happy with it. Like I said, the transformation and keeping the true identity hidden were most important to me. Obviously, with just how many Canine Pokemon we get every generation, I think it's inevitable that we'll get another Pokemon taking a stab at werewolf mythology. Again, I'm still a fan of Lycanroc, and I hope we someday get the beta Pokemon designs reimagined as full Pokemon in the future. But until then, I'll keep working on my own Pokemon ideas. So let me know what you think in the comments below about all the Pokemon we discussed today. Real, almost real, and definitely imaginary. And if you have any of your own suggestions or ideas, leave those in the comments below as well. For this video, I'm very happy that I at least tried to draw a Fakemon for it, or actually 2 different forms for one Pokemon. I didn't get to spend as much time on it as I wanted to, and that's why this video is actually coming out on Halloween instead of beforehand. But yeah, let me know what you think, and if you'd like to see me try and improve it, draw it again, or just further develop it, as well as some other Pokemon in the future. I also tried to do a similar video on my Yu-Gi-Oh channel, although that one's going to be a little later than I wanted it to be. Anyway, I probably should get going because I really shouldn't be out when the moon rises. Thank you to every channel member for your continued support, especially the great Gators. Actual Clown, Black Ice, Cheeseburger Lasers, Don V. Ferrar, Dunkachino II, Eevee, Jen Eric, Justin R, Cosmo Zero, Lil Swiss, Meme Supreme, Nathan Boyts, Nomad Nobi, Oleg Studios, Phantom, Pio the Genius, Quago, Tajirai, Viz, Volity, and Pastel Blood. If you would like to support, get your name shouted out here, as well as access to emotes for comments, live streams, and sometimes early videos, you can become a channel member today. You can also follow me on Twitter as well for more memes. Anyway, this has been GatorX. Thank you for joining our feature presentation, and I'll catch you all later.
Nowhere to run. Nowhere to hide. Better beware. Better take care. This week, we know what scares you. Pokémon Night Marathon begins this Monday morning on Kids WB.